Welcome, everyone, to the Walt Weekly Podcast with your host, Walter Wakem Sr., and co host, Michelle Sweeney McCombs. The Walt Weekly is brought to you by Michelle Sweeney Hair and Skincare. Contributors for the Walt Weekly show are Clorette Harris out of North Carolina, and a major contributor to the Walt Weekly, Dena Ramsey, also from North Carolina. Today's topic: what is going on in this country? Back to you, Walter.
All right, thank you, Michelle.
You're
Yeah, there's a
welcome.
lot going on. I don't know whether we're in the twilight zone. I don't know what we could compare this to,
Right.
metaphorically. But there's a lot going on. It's very, very strange. And I don't think, I know we've never been through something like this before. But let's break it down. I want to start with Roe v. Wade, and I want to try to solicit your take on the reversal or the strike down by the Supreme Court of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, it's scary for this country to be able to reverse something like this that has been in place for over 50 years. It's scary because not just the reason behind Roe v. Wade, just the way politics are, how they can just change a law that has been in place for so long and reverse it. It makes you wonder what other laws are they going to change in reference to um, the people, how we're living, what we're doing, our lifestyles, um, our privacy, our rights. This has a lot to do with a lot of different categories, a lot of different scenarios for individual people, and not just for Roe v. Wade. You have a race thing in here as well. So I'm not too
Right.
happy with it, and I kind of feel like this is just the beginning of other reversals of laws that have been placed.
Yeah, like gay marriage is one that may be at the
Right.
top of their list.
And our rights and our civil rights, which is still pending. We're still not where we need to be equally. So our civil rights, our voting rights can also be amended. Um, our constitutional rights can also be amended if it's that easy to reverse something that has always been in place. And why was that reversed? We need to talk about that.
Well, the thing is, I was looking at Roe v. Wade as a nexus to replacement, the great replacement theory that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the conservatives, the far right conservatives have been talking about, that they're being replaced in terms of being a majority
Mm-hmm.
in this country. And
Right.
the abortion was one of the things that they mentioned, because they're saying that they're losing 60%, by abortions, even though
Right.
abortion, the African American worse than it does the white person. But the whites cannot afford to be losing numbers, because it was projected that by 2050, and it may be sooner, that they will be the minority in this country. So it all plays into that, which I like to call the main line, the main cable running under everything
Right.
on the conservative side, is that they think they are going to lose the majority.
This goes back to the 40s and 50s, or prior to that, where you couldn't have interracial marriages. They thought that back then, over 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Virginia had their first interracial marriage. So that's, when it all started.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
When they felt like, their race would be non-existent. If you keep, mixing the races, there's nothing, there'd be no such thing as a complete white race, white people, because you have, even it's stupid anyway, because no one is 100% pure anyway.
No,
They're not pure. They weren't the first ones here, right? So if
right.
you want to go back to beginning of time, Africa is where everyone's from.
Well, they've been working
Right.
very hard to dispel that. You know that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
They come from Europe. The first man came out of Europe, but they couldn't have froze to death because they didn't have
Right.
clothes.
Right. Right.
So hey, but I look at it like, for instance, white people, they're saying that they're right now they're 60% or maybe 55% of
Hmm.
the population,
Yes.
and they're slowly going to get under that. And that is one of their most basic fears is that they will lose control. So I can understand how the Indians felt then. I mean, they see themselves as a Native American.
Right.
That once they lose, the majority, they will win no more elections. I mean, they will be powerless. But I don't, I think that's irrational. I think that
Yes.
would ease a lot of the racial tensions and racism and this and that because we all be brown, basically. That's what
Hmm.
they see in the future, brown people, and they
Well, you
also
know
think
what
that
that is? I think
what
it's a fear of a black nation.
a minority, yes, a non-white nation. I mean, that's the underlying fear. That runs everything. Everything springs from that. A lot
Hmm.
of their rhetoric and a lot of their claims, especially about the elections and all this kind of stuff, is their fear that they will be
Right.
outnumbered. So in that sense, they can't win electoral seats. I mean, they can't win elections. So they're fighting very hard at the state level to try to
Right.
reverse some of the gains in the Voting Rights Act. So
Right.
they're all over the place trying to stop this. And it's not just the white supremacists. These are Republicans.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's the
They're no
Republicans.
longer. Yeah, yeah,
That's something. Yeah. I mean, that's how they've always thought, anyway. I don't think that the train of thought has changed at all. They still stuck, that's where you get back into make America great again, which means make America white again. It's that control, that they
absolutely.
have. It's definitely control, it's narcissistic. And to me is one race is human race. We are just beautiful people of different colors, different nationalities, but we all bleed the same, right?
That's
We all
right.
have the same, organs. We don't have anything different other than our exterior, which is the color or your ethnicity, right? So
Right.
we are all the same. So categorizing people that way is just a horrible situation. It's a horrible thing to be a human being in this world and you're categorized according to your color, which is basically it. Because you could be, I could be a black person from France or another country anywhere, but my color, the color of my skin, does not make me French. You know what I mean? Even though if I was
Right.
born there. So, even coming here to the United States, you can be white, but you don't know what that person's heritage is. Right? They could be from, Iran. They could be from somewhere, but they have a white complexion, and you never know. So you're putting people in categories that you really don't even know what their background is. I had a colleague that I used to work with. She was white in the industry. I had no idea she was from Sudan, but
Mhm.
she was a whiter version in her family, and some of her family members were darker. So you judge people by their color, but you really don't know. Most of them are not pure white. What is pure white anyway? What is that?
Well, well, I
You
mean,
know?
I mean, you got these white supremacists talking about, an attack on their DNA. All
Hmm.
right. So pure white got to be just primarily your genes are European. That is my definition of pure white.
European. Wow.
European, you know,
Wow.
you know.
And
So,
Europeans are not 100% white, so I don't even know why that's
well,
categorized.
but why would you say that though? Why would you say they're not 100%
I mean,
white?
I
I
know,
mean,
I know,
nobody's
if you
100% white in terms of
no,
the way they are.
no.
But I'm saying some from Paris, I mean France, excuse me.
Hmm.
Some from Western Europe, Eastern Europe. You know, that is
They consider
from the
that.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
You got the Anglo-Saxons, you got and
Hmm.
there's another term. Uh, that's the way they're split, but they're Anglo-Saxon. What constitute an
Hmm.
Anglo-Saxon? Okay, that's why they call Anglos.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
Caucasian, the Caucasus. You had the Caucasus, you
Hmm.
got people from the Caucasus, and you had the people from
Right,
those sectors,
right.
And so, we can go in and out of that and do research, but that's not what this show is about, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
We're about
Right,
the big issues of the day that have overshadowed our way of life.
right.
I mean, to a great extent, moving beyond Roe v. Wade, we can talk
Yes.
about the white supremacists because they're taking it to a whole new level.
A
You
whole
know,
new level. About to start
yeah,
a civil war. It's crazy.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
scary. That's why I said it's very scary. These laws is just not Roe v. Wade. It's a lot of things. It's very political. We have our ex-president that initiated all of this, right? So
Right.
he just brought out things that people were already thinking, right?
There you go.
That they couldn't say they did say in public, but he brought back the Karens that we used to have, and then right after slavery was over, you had these white people reporting us if we looked at them in the eyes, or if we spoke when we weren't spoken to, or if we were out of place, or we drank from a fountain we weren't supposed to drink from. Those were Karens back then, so it's a repeat. History repeats itself. So he brought all of those feelings out, that you have these racist white people that you either work with, you can know them personally, but you don't know them 100% until they're put in a certain situation. And that's when you're like, oh, you've been a racist all of this time I've known you. I had a situation like that. And she, it was a female, and from the
Mhm.
islands, but part of her island was divided, right? And the light skin and the dark skin, they didn't,
Okay.
right? Okay, so you have discrimination there against your own kind as well, right? So something came up with Trump during Trump's reelection, and it was on Facebook. I had posted something, and she posted something that I would have never expected to come out of her mouth. And that's when everyone started responding after that. And that's when I really knew. I said, wow, I knew this girl for so long. I didn't even know who she was, what she represented, until something like that came up. So you really don't know people until something happens, or they have an opinion of it, and you see they're different from me. But I can't really, be mad at her. It's just I've never seen her in that position before, but now I see you are not true to your culture. You're not true to your culture. You discriminate amongst your own culture. You discriminate within your culture, and you also think like the white people. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, who are they going to pick? You're still black. So if anything happens, the white people are not going to pick you to be on their side because you still are a person of color. But you think like a white person, like you're privileged, or you're better than this person. And a lot of black people that think like that too, because you do have
Yeah, I was going to say
you
the
do
fair
have a
skin
lot of
versus the
them.
dark skin. Right,
Yeah, and
right,
they
right,
they
right.
think they're privileged, but at the end of the day, if you get pulled over by a cop, or a bad cop, put it that way, you're still the N word to them. So
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you might think you're lighter and you have one up on us, but you are still a person of color. So you have a lot of people in politics like that as well. A lot of people that think like that. But like I said, going back to the ex-president, he initiated all of that racism and hatred into people. And when you light a fire like that, oh boy, how do you reverse that? You
I don't
cannot.
see a way,
You
especially with the
cannot
Supreme Court.
reverse that,
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah,
once these people are out and you see who they, I mean, people have lost their jobs. They have, when President Obama was in office, they called her a monkey. I mean, it
yeah,
was just so many people coming out and didn't care, because social media will kill you.
yeah.
That could break you. You got to be careful of what you say, who you say it about. You have to be, very. You have to choose your words, or they can turn into something explosive.
Or
So,
to be out there forever in the ether, right?
and Trump's words, the ex-president's words, lit a fire. That he added fuel to that fire,
But that
and
was
it
boiling.
took off. That was boiling for a long time. They were just waiting for
Exactly.
an opportunity. They're waiting
Waiting
for
for a leader.
opportunity,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Waiting for a leader, and at the end of the day, that leader is going to go about his business, and all these other people are going to take the fall for it. Which
Well,
is stupid
it's a
because I'm like, why are these, even with the insurrection court proceedings now, you know, all of these
January
people
6th
seeing,
committee. Yeah,
yeah, they're seeing, he left you out for the wolves. Some of them are turning, but
yeah.
but is it really going to be relevant now, right? Is it really going to help put this man in prison or
Well,
stop him from running again?
I look at it like this. He's going to hopefully. I mean, I don't care whether he's a Republican. We can't go Republican. From my standpoint, is to do everything to block the Republicans because the Republicans have gone off the reservation.
Hmm.
They used to be a party of fiscal responsibility. They were moderate. Like a George Bush Republican. You know what I mean? You didn't like him, but you
Right,
don't have to be looking over your shoulder or be on the defensive. Because you don't know where this guy's going to come from.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So, but
Different.
those Republicans, they have gone to the other side because they're afraid to lose their districts. And what supports those Republicans are their voters.
Yes.
Their voters. They represent their voters, so the voters like it. So you basically it's drilling down to their populace within their districts.
Yeah, the
They
scary
reflect
part,
that.
yes, the scary part with the ex-president is that he was the only one in the world that had the most following. That's scary. He had the
Yeah,
most
imagine.
followers on Twitter. Like he had a huge following. So that's scary to know that there's a lot of people out there that think like him. That's scary.
One third, more than one third of the people think like him in this country.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're looking
scary.
at 33% of over 300 million. I mean, how much you
Hmm.
talking about?
That's a lot.
60
That's
some
a
million
lot.
people, right?
That's a lot of Yeah, that's a lot of people. That's
Yeah.
a lot of people that think like that, and every day you got to deal with someone either disrespecting you or looking at you funny because they just feel like you come in their store, you're gonna steal, you're only here for this, that, and other. They judge you by the way you look. Never judge a book by its cover because you never know what that person is or who they are or who they represent or what uh, what they know, who they know. So it's just a tough time. These are really tough times. I mean, we had worse times. Civil rights was the worst. There's nothing compared to that. Nothing compared to slavery. Nothing compares
No,
to
nothing
fighting for
compared
your
to that.
rights.
Yeah,
Nothing
no, no.
compares to that. But you would think after 50 something years, almost 60 years, that civil rights is still does not exist 100%. We do not have the same rights as white people. We don't. People of color has had it rough here. The United States has treated us like when does it change? I mean, I don't know. It's
I
tough
mean,
because it's not going to get any better because you have these white supremacists. But I mean, now that they're arresting these guys from the insurrection, January 6th, they're making examples out. They have to because this country would turn over. People would lose their minds if these people are not convicted. I mean, they've already got the head of the white supremacy, right? They got a couple of them.
yeah, from the
They
Proud
have
Boys
like how much,
yeah.
right? The Proud Boys. How much evidence do you need? Why do you have to waste taxpayers' money? You have these people on film. Why do you need to have these major hearings, and why did it take a year and a half later to happen? You already had the evidence. How much investigations do you need to get the proof? And then you have people that are testifying or have given testimonies prior to the proceedings because some of them didn't even know what was going on. They were there, but they didn't realize, oh my God, what did I get myself into? You have maybe one or two out of 10, right? That have said that. I
Oh
forget
yeah.
the young lady that they did videotape, and they showed her testimony during the court proceedings, and she blatantly said Trump said this, Trump said that. She did not know, until the day of when things were happening, what was going on. They kept certain things from certain people just to get them to go, right? So you could get a crowd to go. So a lot, Once that happened, I mean, the bulk of them, the 90% of them, 90, I'll say 95% of them knew what they were doing. The 5% didn't know. So, and those are the people that are speaking out, or the ones that are speaking more are the ones that don't want to get as much time because they're testifying against them, which is crazy. So now you're looking for sympathy, so you don't get that much time, but you're going to jail. You were there.
Oh yeah, yeah. We waiting on the Justice Department though to get their act together. You know,
Right.
but you know what I'm so curious about, and this is something that we accuse a lot. When I say we, I'm talking about the U.S. is accused,
Mm-hmm.
people around the world of barbarism and of being uncivilized.
Mm.
I look at these recent shootings, which we're going to do another show around the
Right.
shootings, and get it and drill down a little bit more and get a little bit more granular into it. But I do want to say is that with Buffalo and Uvalde, in Buffalo you had old women, old church ladies that
Yes.
this teenager shot. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Uvalde, you had our young people, elementary school, 7, 8, 9 years old, that this kid shot. So
Yes.
why are you going at the defenseless?
Right. And
Why?
the
Why
parade
is
in
that?
Chicago. And the parade in Chicago. You're going for the defenseless people. Why are you shoot? If you have an issue, I mean, a lot of these situations are mental illness. That's at least what they're calling it,
There's no
right?
damn no terrorists. That,
And
that's
and
that's
and
just
they
evil.
love to call it that way. That's just evil
Quick,
towards people.
quick, quick.
And what annoys me the most is that the family members know this. Family members, that grandmother or that mother knows that this person has an issue. They know that this person is hateful. They know this person has these weapons. Why do you enable these people?
Yeah. Why?
Why? And
Why?
then look what happens. And then you're sorry. You regret it. Or you get shot. The child
Oh, we don't
shoots
see
you
it.
before he leaves out the house. Oh, he's a good boy. He's this, he's that. No, he wasn't a good boy.
It's because
You're
you
the
don't know your
problem.
kids. Yeah. Why attack a 7-year-old? Shoot him, get cold blood. I mean, if white supremacists really look at it, and I've always thought of this when it comes to it, is that they're cowards. They're not one on one. They will not fight you one on one. They got to have all these
Right.
heavy weapons, the AK-47s and the automatic, the semi-automatic guns, and I mean weapons that you wouldn't use for hunting. All right, because you destroy your prey. You can't eat it. I mean, you hunt to eat, right? I mean, I
Right.
don't understand why, and I do understand soft targets. If you go have a soft target, from a point of view of a sniper or someone that wants it, a terrorist, but soft target to be like, indiscriminate. You like the library. You go to the library, but you
Defenseless
deliberately go into
people.
school
Innocent, defenseless
at
people.
little kids,
Hmm.
right? Little kids, though. But really, what does it take for you to sit there and shoot a 7-year-old? Just blow them apart because they said some of the bodies were wounds that you would only see on the warfield.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right, I mean, just explode the body of a little 7-year-old, 6-year-old, 8-year-old child.
It's horrible. Horrible. What kind of
How
mind
can
frame do
you
you
do that?
have to do that? Yeah. How could you do that? Yeah.
I don't see anybody jumping up there saying how barbaric. I mean, when they cut the head off, when ISIS cut the head off of a white journalist, they were saying how barbaric that is. They were saying, but nothing can be more barbaric than what they did to these kids and these old ladies
And it's a repeat. Sandy Hook, you know.
and
They
Sandy
didn't
Hook.
learn from
Yes,
there. They didn't learn
yes,
from there. Yeah.
yeah. Why are they going after the young? I mean, indefensible.
Taking their
You know what I'm saying?
lives,
I mean,
taking their lives and not caring. These kids have not even lived yet. They're babies. What, harmless. What was the purpose of that? What did this school or these children do to you that you had to take out whatever frustrations you have out on them?
yeah, yeah. And like you said, why automatically they're mentally ill? What about the guy that bombed the subway, that was in the subway and set off a bomb?
Right.
All right, first thing they charge him with is civil rights, breaking civil rights laws and stuff like
Really?
that.
He's a
I
terrorist.
mean, they didn't say, "Oh, he's mentally ill." The guy was mentally ill.
Right.
But what was the first thing come out? Oh, we're going to charge him with, civil rights law. The federal government started charging. They didn't mention much about no mental illness. And the guy, you can look at him and
Hmm.
tell he was crazy as hell.
Wow.
But they didn't do that because he was black.
That's
All right, if
true.
anybody should be crazy,
That's
he should
true.
be
That's true.
black.
The white terrorists are out there and they're mental illness. That's the first thing they say.
That's the
Yeah.
first thing they say. Even though he wrote all on these social media. I mean, you're not mentally ill when you can spell out in detail what your plans are and and what your actions are going to be and how you're going to go about it.
Right. Right.
I mean, the guy that did Uvalde or the guy that did Buffalo, one of the two, he had followers. He had views
Mm.
on social media.
So he had an audience knowing.
He had an audience.
Yeah. And that you when you have supporters like that, that's edging you on to complete your task. Whatever your task is, you're gonna complete it because you have these people agreeing with you, saying that you're right.
That's what I'm saying. You got plenty of them out there. That
That's
it's
what made Trump so
I don't know
popular because he has so many people agreeing with him.
because it's in them. You know what I mean? It's in them. So he brought it out. It was in them. They've been conducting themselves that way for a long time. We both know it because even though we live in the North, we're in what I think is the greatest city on earth.
Yes,
We still run into it every
we
day.
do. You're gonna have it in certain areas. You will. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at. People are everywhere. So you're gonna bump into one or two every now and then. It's how you deal with it, how you control that situation, and how you react to it. So it's just a lot. It's a lot. When you're in a bigger city, it's not as bad, because it's wide, it's spread out. You have it, but people are a little more private about it, or how I should say, discreet when you're in a bigger city because
Yeah,
you don't know if that person is the same mentality you are. They could be the same person and react worse than you reacting to them. So you don't know what you're gonna get in New York City. You
that's
don't.
true. That's true. I mean, believe it or not, when I was coming up here for the first time on the bus, and I got the first thing that hit me on the way to New York was, how can I tell the racists from the non-racists? Because coming from North Carolina, you knew who didn't like you.
Right.
You knew what people did. You
Yeah.
knew it.
Yeah.
It was up front and personal. Right up front. I don't like
Right.
nigger.
Right.
Excuse me,
They
I'm
tell
using the
you,
N word.
yeah, but they
Yeah,
tell you, they tell you,
yeah,
the
they tell
South,
you I don't like
the
you.
South was brutal and it was open and they didn't hide it,
And
but
we
that's
lived
how
with
this,
that because we
that's
understood it.
how, that's how this country was built on racism
Exactly.
and
And we
racism
tell them,
and violence. Yeah,
and we say, cracker, we don't like you either. We
right.
come right back at them.
Mm-hmm.
So, we live without them. We
Right.
live, that's the way we carried ourselves. That's why we had such excellence
Mm-hmm.
in our communities.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, yeah. My mother said the same thing. She said it was better. Segregation was better for them. She had a great
Exactly.
education. They knew not to be in their town after 7 o'clock. They be home in their communities doing, educating themselves,
That's right.
patronizing their own businesses,
That's
right?
right.
My mother said
That's
they
right.
would never really go into town unless they had to. You know,
That's
they didn't
right.
do, they didn't patronize the white people. They had their own.
Yeah. Friday
So
night we get out of
sometimes,
football game. That's
yeah,
it.
sometimes, segregation was best in certain situations.
Segregation is the killer of our, to me, you know my thoughts on
Hmm.
integration
Right,
and the desegregation. It killed us as a race. It hurt us badly. It
right.
was like a harpoon in the side, under the
Hmm.
heart, because it broke up the family unit. But then again,
Yeah,
I don't want to get so far off topic that, we got a lot of shows we want to do, a lot of things that we want to do around these topics. And so I don't want to try to do everything in one show. I think we didn't cover, we want to drill down more in our next show too, these
definitely.
shootings and the mindset of these so-called mentally unstable people, that they hide behind. He's mentally unstable, he's crazy. I used to tell people, man, I'll kill you, and I'm joking now, but all I got to do is pull out my mental illness card, and I can kill you and
Right,
not
right,
just go to the hospital.
right,
That's basically what they're
right,
doing.
right,
You
right.
know?
I think this is like a war within our own country, right, in our own communities. It's not it's mass shooting, but we also have cultural rise shootings as well locally. So, the local shootings are like an offset of, the mass shootings, right? So, what's the difference?
Well, I don't see the correlation in a sense, and that's why that next show, I think that we should look at both sides of that issue because
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
inclined to disagree because it's a hard thing being a black man in this country, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Growing up
Okay.
a black man and a black woman, and a black man especially. I don't want to put emphasis on the black man that much, but you got to be damn crazy by the time you get 21.
Oh yeah.
Being a black
Oh
man
yeah.
in this country. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Oh yeah. It's tough.
So
It's not
yeah,
easy.
that's what I'm saying. That's
It's
what I'm
not
saying.
easy, it's not easy. I think I wish we could get like a young adult and, different age groups of men to come on just to speak about it because you need different sides of it.
You
You
do.
need different sides, different experiences, different
Yeah.
views of it.
Yeah. And we want average folks. We want average folks. They don't have to be a celebrity. We're not looking for
No,
big time politicians because
no,
all this stuff going on. What are the politicians doing?
not
You
a
know what I
damn
mean?
thing.
Look at it
They're
down. Look
not.
at the Bronx. Hey,
Right.
we're close to that borough. We're very, very close. And Walt Weekly is
Hmm.
very, very close to the Bronx. Okay,
Definitely.
but we got all the killing and stuff going on. We got to do something. What can be done? What's the solution? We
Right.
strand off, but we just want to get that 2 cents worth in there because people we want to talk about it. Michelle and I want to talk about it and get into it. From the perspective of being on the ground and people that know and have been affected by all of this nonsense that's ongoing. Eric Adams, mayor. I see him out there every damn day. He's on everything. He can't do everything.
Thank you for listening to the Walt Weekly podcast with your host, Walter Latham Sr., and co-host Michelle Sweeney McCombs. The Walt Weekly is brought to you by Michelle Sweeney Hair and Skincare. Major contributors, Clorette Harris and Dena Ramsey from North Carolina. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Walt Weekly, Twitter at Walt Weekly, Podbean, The Walt Weekly, and www.thewaltweekly.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and other streaming platforms.